Oh, really?
Thank you. Hold on a meeting of February 16, 2017. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Barbarulo.
Here.
Mrs. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Klein. Mrs. Biella. Here. Mr. Rosenberg.
Here.
Mr. Spindell. Mrs. Wallace.
Here.
Mr. Banta.
Here. Mr. Klein is running a little bit late. He'll be here shortly. Join me in a flag salute. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law is enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies in which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Fair Lawn Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place thereof distributed to the persons on the approved list, posted to the Board of Education Administrative Office, sent to the Bergen Record and the community news such as it is. The announcement posting for the regular monthly meeting, along with the date, time, and place thereof, was distributed on January 26, 2017. Items to be discussed during the closed work session of the regular monthly meeting may include personnel matters, student matters, legal matters, negotiation, and grievances, tactics and techniques utilizing protecting public safety and property. The results of these meetings will be made public as soon as possible. Yeah, I tell I sound better than yesterday. Approval of minutes for organization meeting, HIB hearing, executive closed session, January 5th, 17, and a regular monthly meeting, residency hearing, and executive closed session of January 19th, 2017. May I have a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Dr. Polistis, I'll turn it over to you for your comments.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting. I'm so pleased that we have a picture taken. Usually when the board has its picture taken, that means shortly after they're going to hang the superintendent. So this way, there's a photo, and that's really good news. I do want to thank you all for being here. And tonight we have several resolutions that board members will read, honoring members of our school community and those who have served Fair Lawn and the Fair Lawn Board of Education for many years. I did want to just add a few comments about two groups that we'll read a little bit about in a few minutes. And the first is I just wanted to say a few words about Debbie Donnelly. So Debbie, there she is. But in a little bit, in a few minutes, the Board of Education will consider a resolution because Debbie had a book published that is very, very near and dear to her heart. And it is a book about the experiences during the Holocaust of her family. And she has been gracious enough to let me know that she'll be providing to the library at the high school and both our middle schools copies of this. She loaned me a copy, and I took it home and read it. It really is a fabulous tribute. But additionally, it's a good read. It's very well written and documents a period of the history of the world that we all should know about and never forget about. So I want to acknowledge you in public, and in a few minutes, some of the board members will be reading statements as well. And then it was my pleasure just a few weeks ago to be at our Blue Ribbon School, and several of the board members were there at Lincrest, as well as members of our mayor, members of the council, because this really is a unique accomplishment for our community, but for the staff, the students, the parents. Winning a United States Department of Education Blue Ribbon School Award is a very, very significant accomplishment that we should all be very, very proud of. And in particular, we should be proud of the leadership that helped make all of that possible. So, where is Kevin?
Right here.
Okay, and my question is, are you wearing your pin?
Of course I'm wearing my pin.
I don't leave home without it.
She never leaves home without it, but during the ceremony, it was a little bit spontaneous, but one of the nice moments was that when I served years ago as a Blue Ribbon School principal, and the pin that you're wearing was handed to me by the president, I kept it. And I figured, well, I'm just an old guy now, what am I going to do with it? But I really wanted to pass it on to Kelly, and I think symbolically to the staff, because you represent the very, very best of public education. So thanks for everything that your staff, our students were fabulous. Maybe later, were we going to do that?
Yeah.
The video thing, we can do that later after the resolution, but thanks to all of you for coming. It really was a very nice community event, especially when the kids got up and danced. I thought that was really, really cool. And that was, what was that, flash mob?
Correct. Very good. Good
See,
job.
I'm learning. But it was great to see the faculty out there dancing. I don't think I've heard kids screaming such glee. I was happy. They weren't laughing at you, really. I thought it was a very nice event. And then finally, I just wanted to turn a little bit to academics, that, you know, we have such a wonderful reputation in this community because of the school district, and one of the reasons is the way we do things. And this is a tradition that was started by Mr. Watson when he was here, in which we have a very, very fine focus and almost a scientific focus on setting goals that administratively, that reflect Board of Education goals, and then those goals show up in our classrooms. And I'm not going to go through the entire report with you, but if any of you were at our October board meeting, I reported to the public about our district goals for the year. And we call these focus areas. And this is just a mid-year summary. And I want to tell you that what we do is then we go back to administration about mid-year and we say, how are we doing? So that if there's a need, we can make mid-year corrections. But we're doing very, very well on the goal achievement. So part of it's accountability, part of it is building up that sense of teamwork again. In the science areas, we're doing very, very well. Soon the parents will receive, I think the letter was just developed, in grades 3 and 5, we're going to be piloting. We'll notify the parents of this from our Knowing Science program, and everyone knows about hands-on science, so this is hands-on, but it's also minds-on science. And I think that's going to be a cool program. It's a real feather in the cap of the school district that we get chosen and we volunteer to pilot programs here, and that other schools come in and emulate. So, you know, I'm convinced we're making good progress towards achieving the next generation science standards. In the field of health, we have booked, I just confirmed today, a program called Hidden in Plain Sight. This is going to be it's going to be May 15th. We'll announce the specific location, but Hidden in Plain Sight is an educational program for parents that deals with what are the signs of substance abuse in your own home. How can you deal with it in your home? What should parents be looking at? How can we work with our children? So that's going to be a cooperative effort on behalf of everybody here, but sponsored by the Board of Ed as well as Bergen County. Our park scores, we're getting ready for the preparation of that. Natalie has the calendar all set up and ready to go. At one of our previous board meetings, we had a very nice presentation about our child care program and the involvement of ELL students. That continues to move ahead at a very nice pace. It's very unique. And you know, we're doing some nice interdisciplinary work here in Fair Lawn, such as in the fine and performing arts addressing STEM, science, technology, education, and math education. So curriculum updates are going on all of the time. We are moved very, very much into phonics development for our youngest students. It's very important to have phonemic awareness as part of a basic reading skill. That seems to be working. And we're making nice progress on our Google initiative. So our Google Apps, Google Classroom moving forward. All of the principals this week received a calendar in which now principals can schedule the PD in their own building, and teachers can customize the Google training that you might want. And so I'm very, very pleased on I think on the performance so far. And then we'll do the end of the year really is going to be in the fall, because by the fall of next year, a lot of the data will be back about PARCC and other measures that we have. Special education is doing what we call CLAF training, and what that means is the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. So it's something that special ed staff had identified, and we just about finished up our training in that area. So once again, welcome, and we can move into, well, thank you for your time. Welcome.
Thank you. We have a presentation from Lindquist.
Going to have a little, wanted to share some of the celebration.
You want to do that first, and then we'll do the resolution? Is it ready to go? Or?
Well, I just need 5 minutes to set up, so.
Okay. All right, then we'll take them in order then. We have several resolutions, S1A, B, C. S1A is a tough one. Resolution to recognize the accomplishments in life of Mr. John Mancinelli. Mary, you think you can read it? Okay, thanks.
Whereas Mr. John Mancinelli, a respected and dedicated trustee of the Fairlawn Board of Education, beginning in 1993 until the year 2014, and having served as president from 2000 until 2001, gave unsparingly of his time and energy toward the betterment of our school system. And whereas Mr. John Mancinelli served with dedication, dignity, and decorum on a Board of Education comprised of 9 elected officials, and whereas Mr. John Mancinelli will long be remembered by many of our staff and members of the community as being a distinguished trustee who was instrumental in encouraging and promoting the general educational welfare of our children. And whereas that the Fairlawn Board of Education hereby acknowledges with gratitude those services rendered by Mr. John Mancinelli, therefore be it resolved that the Fairlawn Board of Education remember Mr. Mancinelli for his vision, energy, dedication, and leadership as a trustee. And be it further resolved that the Secretary to the Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes, and that the Superintendent of Schools present a copy of this resolution to his family.
Thank you, Mary. Can I have a motion for S1A?
So moved.
Second.
Comments? Mike?
This is like really nice. And I think we're all gonna have a bit of time to reflect. When I came on the board, I had known John. I had known John through Scouts and through other community things, and I knew he was just, I'll say it, he was a mensch. He was a mensch. I came on the board, and what I discovered about John, everyone remembers the history of meetings we've been at and stuff like that. John Mancinelli knew the minutes of every single meeting he ever attended, and he got it right. Like he knew, like he remembered exactly like the history. And when John didn't win his last election, we lost that institutional knowledge and that institutional history, and I think that's a big deal. John also, one of his passions, besides policy meetings, but we won't even go there. One of his passions was special education, and there wasn't anything that John wouldn't do for all the children in the district, but especially the special needs population. So, you know, Alida, thank you for coming tonight, and we owe you and your family because he spent so much time here.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
miss him.
I have a personal thing with John before I sat on the board and then after I came on the board. I was friends with Alida in my early tenure in the elementary school, going into middle school and then into high school. We had a committee called the Fair Lawn Association for Responsible Education. And for any of you who remember, there was a time where we had a vote on our budgets back in April. And we were so trying to get the word out and trying to make sure that these budgets passed, because we did have a time where the budget was defeated, and it was defeated by such a minute margin. So we regrouped and decided that we were going to try to focus on the children, the parents that had children in our district, and we figured if we could reach the parents of the children in the district to pass these budgets, we would be okay. So I worked with Alida, and Alida and I became friends. I spent many, many days, many nights, many weekends, many everything at her kitchen table. And who sits at the kitchen table with Alida but her husband, John. So that was my first introduction to John, and I saw him from his home, and I came to a lot of board meetings because I was an educated taxpayer and a educated voter, and we were at all board meetings before I sat on this board. And I got to see John as a board man. John was instrumental in me running for a seat on the board. I didn't think I could do it. And John said, "You're there, you know, and the most thing about you is you care." And that's the one thing that I can say about John, is that he cared. Everything that John touched, he cared about. He cared about the board members, the administration, the children, the staff, the buildings, the grounds, the policies. Those were the heart and soul of John. And it's because of John that I ran, and I miss him a lot. He was my mentor, my friend, and thank you for coming tonight so that we could share that with you.
Thank
And
you.
we love him, I love him, I miss him.
Me too.
Mayor.
Two things. John was a lifelong learner, and he went to so many courses at school boards, and he took so many workshops, and he moved up through the many certificates that you could earn until he did become master board, which was the highest that you could achieve. As a lifelong learner, John inspired us. And it was really because of John that the board decided we would like to do what was necessary to become a certified and then master board. So, and I don't think we would have done that if it weren't that John really had inspired us to do that. The second thing was that it was such a wonderful thing to be able to see John receive the Archie Hay Award for his outstanding work in the school boards and so forth. And I know that was a wonderful moment for John, but it was a wonderful moment for the whole board because he represented all of us. And the last thing was the last achievement, which was so wonderful, after John had left the board, and I think, Jean, this is a wonderful thing you did, but John came up at the board meeting and he helped cut the ribbon for the kindergarten, which he wanted for 22 years. And though he was not a board member, he was invited to come and join us in cutting the ribbon. So we're happy that there were some things that we could do that gave John some good memories, but John gave us some wonderful memories and will always be an inspiration to us of what a true board member should be.
I met John same way through Flair. I was one of the few men that were put all these women on PTA council, and Flair and everything else running around town. And I got to know John before I ran for the board. And the funny thing is, when I got on the board, one of the first things John said to me after the first meeting, because I questioned Joanne about something building-wise, and John says, it's so nice to have somebody on the board that understands buildings and grounds like me. Because John was an engineer. But the thing I'll always remember about John is policy. And, you know, it's ironic, and I say it, and I just got to chill because I'm the policy chair now, and it's one of the things that I take as an honor to him, because I remember being on the board the first couple of years, and I used to say to him, why do you do that? This is so boring. Are you kidding me? But yet, I can call John up and say, what is the policy for this? Oh, it's on, you know, this page, this section, and he like knew every policy of the district. I'm like, do you like read anything else but the policy? But he truly was a gentleman, and it was an honor and a privilege to know him, and to work with him on the Board of Education. And the times that I spent with him at times alone, the biggest thing is what I do it for too, and like all of us do. For John, it was just about the children. There was nothing else. John didn't care if he disagreed with the superintendent, if he disagreed with the teachers, if he disagreed with the administration. As long as the children came out first, that's what all that mattered. And that's the one reason why I know, I can speak for myself that I do it. But it was truly an honor, and Alina, I'm grateful that you're here for it. And like I said, you know, I don't live far from you. If you ever need anything, you know you can call me.
Elise?
No, I'm not gonna repeat what everybody said, because I have very strong feelings for John. We used to travel together, to all the events, and John would always drive, and he didn't have an easy task, so he had to take Route 1 to Princeton. And he was quite a character. But we were on Buildings and Grounds together for quite a few years in the beginning, and he sat next to me, and I whispered to him one day, because we were talking about buses, and you know, there were yellow buses and school buses, and then they were gonna buy a tractor, and they were talking about the brand of tractor, and I said, watch, I'm gonna ask what color the tractor is. He never let me live that down. For years and years and years, we would be doing, you know, at a regular board meeting, and he would just say, and what color is the tractor? The tractors are green, you know? And he would never let me live that down. But he was quite a character, and I really enjoyed being with him and doing all the board things and other things with John. But we switched one year, because I basically became education, and he basically became policy. And one year, I forget what year it was, but I know my daughter was in a play in New York, and I was driving back and forth and reading the policy manual and circling in the policy manual the elder policies that really hadn't been updated in years and years and years. And at the end of that year, I just handed him the book and said, it's all yours, and we switched back. Because it was, he really did, he just knew everything about it. So.
Any members of the audience want to say anything?
Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't see
I
that.
just wanted to say something. Alita, the comments that you're hearing tonight are obviously a true testament to the character and individual he was. And I only knew John for like a year or so when I got on the board. But he did inspire me to make me think before decisions are made, and I truly appreciated that. And I appreciated all the help that he gave me while he sat next to me.
I want to thank all of you for all of your comments.
We're not done yet.
We're not finished, oh my God. You gotta finish before I cry.
I did not work with John because of PMI, but the night of the election when they had the numbers, he was so gracious when he came over to me and said, you won, congratulations. And he was always so kind to me when I saw him afterwards and said, how are you doing? And you know, I didn't get to work with him, but I remember that night of him just being so gracious and coming over, congratulations, Joan. You made it, you know, you're going to do a good job, and that made me feel really good, you know, that he was so gracious that way. Thank you.
Jean, can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
Last night, we had a special education committee and meeting, and you know that John special education was very special to him. When John passed, there were donations to several different places. So the donations did come into place. And there is going to be a bookcase in honor of John, donated by Place. The administration right now is going to look into the logistical specifications as to where this bookcase will go, but it will bear his name. And I just wanted you to know that.
Thank you.
Any members of the audience? Hello, just state your name for them.
Kathy Marinello, and everywhere I went, everybody used to think I was Kathy Mancinelli. No, I'm Marinello, not Mancinelli, and they go, what's the difference? Pretty much, Italian, what's the difference? So, I wanted to say that when I first started 25 years ago and came to a board meeting, it was John that encouraged and said, don't be afraid. We'll help you through this. And I was part of the PTA, president of PTAs, PTA council president, and of course Flair, where we passed every budget, and if we didn't pass the budget, you know, the one time, we never forgave ourselves, and we thought it would never happen again. And it was because of John's caring and being with us and guiding us, and it was wonderful. So not only was he a great board member that we could come to and respect, he had a lot of respect for all the parents, and the children did come first. And that's what he instilled in us, and Alita, we became friends. So I thank you for that.
Anyone else?
Meldra Farrer, obviously. I just want to, say thank you for the donations recently, but he's always been such a big fan and supporter of Lace. We're going to miss him terribly, and it's our honor to hopefully have in this building a little plaque with John's name. In this building. Just going to reiterate that.
Which building?
Maybe Edison School. This one doesn't work out, we could just do Edison School.
A few things to remember about John. He was larger than life. This was his. He was boisterous. He was blustery. He was opinionated. He wasn't always everybody's cup of tea. But the thing about John is, I have to remember, and some of you people don't know John because he's been gone for a while, and some of you are new. But John was been here. It seemed like forever. Service and leadership. From his time leading a tank platoon in Vietnam in combat, to Boy Scouts, to the Board of Education, to he's been on a couple of boards with the town.
Yeah.
The competitivization, whatever that thing was.
Yes.
It was really,
Made up
but it was trying to streamline. But he gave a lot of himself. He was a smart man. He often had great ideas that thought outside the box. He could think in linear terms, he could think in other terms, and he was just an unbelievable gentleman who really is greatly missed. And when I heard that he passed away, it hit me and I got choked up. But when it really hit me was after. And this is John Alita's marriage to a T. The ceremonies at the Jewish Center, but we have a Catholic repast at Biagio's.
It's ecumenical, that was our style.
Yeah, I know. So, when it really hit me was when we're sitting at a table and Alita walks in, and in my head I'm waiting for John to walk in behind her. And I'm like, he's not coming back. And it was difficult. It's difficult now. But Alita, I want to thank you for sharing him with us. And I hope he knows how much we respect and love him.
Thank you.
And it was our pleasure to serve with him. And thank you for being here. And now you can.
Well, I have to tell you, the comment that struck me the funniest
was Elisa's comment about his not having the Easy Pass. Because we got an Easy Pass when Jared said, you know, this is really a pain in the neck for me. He's constantly running in and out of the city. And he made his father get Easy Pass. And John finally said, well, if I'm getting it for Jared's car, I might as well get it for the rest of us too. John worked on computers long before we ever owned a home computer. And he always knew what to do with a computer. And then we got a home computer, and we had children. I don't have to tell you about children and computers. What I can tell you is that over the last 2 years, I became the one he had to go to get computer help, which blew me away because, I mean, he'd been working on them forever. He hated them. He hated everything about it. He hated that there was a page and he had to look in 15 places before he could put the right thing. And he had a temper and a fuse about that long, and he would sometimes blow. I'm sure he never saw anything.
No.
But I would hear him, I finally learned, I would hear him yelling at the computer, and I would say, can I help you? Can I help you? Leave me alone, I can't. And he really was very, very ticked. After a while, both of us learned. I learned that if he was yelling at the computer, the best thing I could do was just shut up. And he learned that if he needed help with the computer, he had to lower his voice and say, could you come here and help me? And then I would go in and, you know, we would fix all of that up. So yeah, you were right. But I can tell you that serving on this Board of Education was, I believe, for him the most gratifying thing he ever did in his life. He loved doing this. He really loved doing this. He loved working with all of you. He loved being part of the community. He loved seeing the kids and seeing what they were doing. And it was interesting because for several months before he filed papers to run, the last time he ran, he and I were at loggerheads for a while. And I finally had to get to a place where I had to make up my mind how I was going to react. Because I was annoyed, I didn't want him to run. He wanted to run and was upset because I didn't want him to. And finally I said to myself, this is ridiculous, back off. This gives him so much pleasure. Why would you take this away from him? And then he would start and he would say, you know, there's a good chance I'm not going to win this election because of where the candidates fell on the ballot. He said, you know, I'm number 4. There's a real good chance people are going to vote 1, 2, 3 and be done, and I won't make it. And I thought, oh yeah, sure. So it was a big shock to him when it wasn't as big a shock to him when he lost that election as it was to me. And he said to me, you see, I told you. And I said, you know, it's okay. He said, it's really time. But that was not the way he wanted to go out, obviously. I don't think anybody wants to go out that way. But he accepted it with grace, and he went on to serve on an environmental advisory committee for the borough. That was, I think, the second time he did something for the borough, and he was enjoying that. And I can tell you, and this I say very freely and very happily, I can tell you that the very last 3 days he had were wonderful. We had Chrismukkah, and we only get to do that once in a while because we're a mixed bag. So we had Chrismukkah. Our kids came from Connecticut, and Jared, of course, was home with us. And we had a beautiful tree that John didn't think he had the energy to decorate, but the tree was done, and it was beautiful. And the menorah was lit, and that was beautiful. And we all had dinner together, and we had a good time. And the following day, Ian went with his wife and her family to New York, as they always do, to see the windows and Rockefeller Center and all of that. And John and I decided that since we were a half-Jewish couple, the very least we could do was go to the movies. So we did. There was no Chinese food, but there was a movie. And then the day after Christmas, a very old and dear friend of ours came, and we all had brunch, and she brought us a package of DVDs of old Alfred Hitchcock movies, some of them so old that they were silent, and some of them were the old films that he had made in England, and we spent the afternoon eating, naturally, and watching some of these old movies. He had a wonderful, wonderful time, and we all had a wonderful time. And Tuesday we were waiting for his mom to come up. We sent a limo for her, because we were going to celebrate Mancinelli holiday, which is either before Christmas or after Christmas or whatever. And that was the morning he went. And all I can say is he never knew what hit him. So I'm glad that he didn't have to suffer. He didn't have to suffer any kind of indignities. He didn't have to suffer any kind of pain. And for him, that was truly a wonderful thing. Left us in a bit of shock, but sooner or later we get over that. But I want all of you to know that his happiest times were working with the board. It meant the world to him. It meant more to him than any job he ever had. And the people that he dealt with on this board and in this school district meant more to him than anybody else. I want you all to know that.
Thank you. Well, I guess, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. We're gonna get this framed and get it over to you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Put Ben next to his plaque for policy.
Yes. Well, he has his, he has a variety of,
Yes.
of framed things.
Right, so,
Yeah.
Archie Hay is the whole thing.
That's right,
Right,
that's
so,
right. Thank you all very, very much.
He was an institution.
Mm.
It'll be missed a great deal. Thank you again, Lena. Okay, S1B. Resolution to recognize the accomplishment of Ms. Deborah Donnelly? Broke? Elise?
Yes.
Broke, okay. Would you read that, Elise? Thank you.
Whereas Ms. Deborah Broke Donnelly, Downey employee of the Fairlawn Board of Education, serving as the district social worker and anti-bullying specialist and a member of the Bergen County Crisis Response Team, has written a published book titled Hank Broke Holocaust Memoirs, A Candle and a Promise. And whereas the story of a Holocaust survivor detailed in this moving story of a man who has embraced life to the fullest as told to his daughter, Ms. Deborah Broke Donnelly, for many years, kept his story within himself and could not speak about the atrocities of the death camps, decided to break his silence with the writing of this book. Therefore, be it resolved that the Fairlawn Board of Education acknowledges this accomplishment of completing her father's story and having it published for all to read and remember, and congratulate Ms. Deborah Broke Donnelly on this most beautiful tribute to her beloved father, and wishes her continued success. And be it further resolved that the Secretary to the Fairlawn Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon official minutes, and that a copy of this resolution thereof be presented to Ms. Deborah Broke Donnelly.
Motion?
Second.
Comment from the board? Attorney O'Dane?
Once again, I do want to thank you, and you know, when you think of the contributions that an educator can make, they occur on many different levels, and this includes work you do as a volunteer, the work you do every day. You know, but writing is eternal, and your book and the memories will be available to the students of Fairlawn for generations. And it's a rare feat to be an accomplished author. I'm so impressed by that. And I also want to thank you personally for sharing it with me. I feel honored that you did that.
And you might get him.
So, first of all, congratulations. You know, about 12 years ago, I took a course on teaching the Holocaust to children. That was given by Kean University. And in the process of taking that, I started talking to my father. And my father's mother had died of cancer when he was 18, so I never knew her. And what I found out, which I had never known, was that half of his mother's family had perished in the Holocaust. And the more I learn about the Holocaust, the more I can't wrap around the whole idea that that happened. But you know, the Holocaust survivors are passing away. I mean, there's not a lot left, and they all did a lot of them did exactly what your father did, and they held it inside. They didn't want their families to go through the same misery that they went through, and they wanted to move on. And it's a testament that you wrote the book. I can't wait to read the book. I can't wait to read the book. Amazon? Yes. Okay. And thank you for writing it. And like I said, I just can't wait to read it. Thank you.
I just want to say I'm married to a second generation, and I was very close with my in-laws who were survivors. And Mike's right, many of them didn't speak that. And my dad, who was American, who fought in the war, also didn't talk about his experiences. So that might just be like a psychological thing. But I also can't wait to read this. And I know several of their stories because as they aged up, they started to release them. So it's frightening and scary. And it's great that you had the wherewithal to sit and
Any members of the audience?
Arlesky. I know Deb well, while I agree with you that being an accomplished author is a huge feat, congratulations on that, the content is so important. My grandparents were survivors. Unfortunately, they passed. I had somewhat of a different experience in that my grandfather did keep things in, but my grandmother told me stories. And she told me stories in Yiddish. And they were difficult. But I would encourage anybody that has an idea but hasn't really looked into this and understand what happened there to learn about it and to pass it along, because it's so important that everybody understand and know what happened and that it cannot happen again.
Anyone else? Again, congratulations on the book. I can't imagine writing about it. I can't imagine living it. It's just something that can't be forgotten. And I just hope you continue to remember it. All in favor of the resolution? Aye. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. S1C, resolution to recognize the national blue ribbon status of Lindcrest Elementary School. Did anybody, board members, kids go to Lindcrest? I went to. But you actually went there. I went there. No, went there. All right, Mike, since you're a graduate of Lindcrest, we'll let you read it.
And my grandson.
And, okay, you qualify.
I hope. Resolution to recognize the national blue ribbon status of Lindcrest Elementary School. Whereas on Sunday, September 28, 2016, the United States Secretary of Education, John P. King Jr., announced that Lindcrest Elementary School was one of 329 schools named National Blue Ribbon Schools for 2016. And whereas the United States Department of Education invites National Blue Ribbon School nominations from the top education official in all states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, the Department of Defense Education Activity, and the Bureau of Indian Education, as well as the Council for American Private Education, with a total of 420 schools nominated each year. And whereas this prestigious honor bestowed upon Lindquist Elementary School highlights the outstanding collective achievements, supportive instruction, and quality programs that foster each child's maximum development and potential. As one of only 329 schools to achieve Blue Ribbon status this year, Lindquist Elementary School has distinguished itself through its high standard of academic excellence, and resolved that the Fair Lawn Board of Education acknowledges the distinction of Lindquist Elementary School as a Blue Ribbon school, and commend all those who have invested in the unique talents and gifts of our future generation, and thank all the administration and staff for supporting an enriched learning environment that has demonstrated that all students can achieve success. And be it further resolved that the Secretary to the Fair Lawn Board of Education be directed to shred this resolution in full upon the official minutes, and a copy of this resolution thereof be presented to the principal of Lindquist Elementary School, Mrs. Kelly D.
Thank you. May I have a motion for? Okay. Are you going to go right to Kelly or?
Kelly, you want to introduce the video?
Sure. First of all, I want to just thank you for your support. I want to thank Mr. Rosenberg, Mr. Spindell, as well as for attending our ceremony. And just recognize the team that's sitting here in front of you tonight, dedicated professionals to our kids. And growing up on teams myself and still being involved in sporting events and teams, they're part of a much larger team. And that's our Fair Lawn community. And just a tremendous group of people that we work with, such support, and just the energy in the room when we celebrated with our kids was just tremendous. And I would like to thank Maria Corso, principal before me, for all of the groundwork she laid and all of the work she did with the staff. And I'm just grateful to be there. So I want to share, we shared a video with the kids. I kind of went around filming, sorry for the quality of the video, but I went around filming the students and staff, asking them what it meant to be a Blue Ribbon. So I'd like to share that with you.
Fostering a love of reading in our learners makes us a Blue Ribbon School. What are we? A Blue Ribbon School!
Small groups of students to maximize each student's potential.
These in a row. After me. 1, 2, ready, go. And that's why we're a Blue Ribbon School.
Give me a B. C. Give me an L. L. Give me a U. U. Give me an E. E. Give me an R. R. Give me an I. I. Give me a B. B. Give me another B. B. Give me an O. O. Give me an N. N. What's that sound? Blue Ribbon. Who's the Blue Ribbon School? We are. Let's go.
Lindcrest School's a blue ribbon school, yay!
I'm so proud of our hardworking staff, students, and Lindcrest community. Congratulations, Lindcrest School.
We're number one at Lindcrest. We're a blue ribbon school.
Because we're safe and healthy. We are a blue ribbon school.
Push to discover, best in others. Treat my friends like sisters and brothers. Respect my teachers and our
Technology classes at Lindcrest make us
Science smart.
and that's why we are
A blue ribbon school. We are turning our school blue to celebrate our
Lindcrest is a blue ribbon school because we have great parent support and lots of volunteers.
Our teachers make our school and us feel great. Our school's a masterpiece, our teachers help us paint. We'll be colorful, we'll be respectful, and pledge to discover the best in others. Treat our friends like sisters and brothers.
We value the arts, which makes us a blue ribbon school.
The
Getting
background.
tired from all that jumping?
How many times I watched that though? It doesn't get old.
Anybody get hurt?
Nobody does. But the song you heard in the background was an initiative this year to have a school song, and our music teacher Gianna Iannuzzi took a group of fifth graders who wanted to songwrite and to Katy Perry's Roar, but it's the Lindcrest Star. So I just wanted to point that out. And the move that the kids all loved was when the staff got up and we all dabbed. I don't know if you all know what a dab is, but apparently it's all the rage. And so teachers were decked out in blue tutus, blue boas, blue everything, blue sunglasses. And the song we flash mobbed to was Can't Stop the Feeling by Justin Timberlake. And we just want to continue to celebrate this and share it with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. It was a great job by you and your staff. We're very appreciative of it. And we're happy to have you guys working for us. Keep up the good work. Any other board members want to make comments? Ron?
I think it's just a great job by the staff, the parents, and the students, and everything that they offer. So, I mean, again, I'm grateful to have the type of teachers that we do. And actually, I gotta be honest, it was kind of funny, I was laughing at them in the gym. You guys have the smallest gym. I remember playing basketball there, I'm like, this is it? So to accomplish what you do there, that's a big accomplishment. So, no, that's phenomenal to be recognized like that, and it is, it's an honor to be on a board that has a school like that. So my congratulations to everyone who's in there. Thank you for everything you do for us. I don't want to share, Kelly.
I'm sorry that I keep talking on every resolution today, but I think it's important. First of all, going back, thank you for the invitation to come, and I'm really happy that I left my school early to go there because I would have missed a great day. The excitement by the kids really rang out that day. The excitement by the teachers really rang out. And I have to say, it's a testament to the staff at Lindcrest, but it's also a testament to the district as a whole, because we are a district, and it shows what Fairlawn schools are truly truly accomplish with our students day in and day out. The PTO, is it PTA or PTO?
PTO.
The PTO, it starts with you guys too, because without the PTO supporting and the parents support in the school, this doesn't happen either. So I personally, as a graduate of Lindcrest School, it really was nice to go back and see what was accomplished there. And I really, when I passed Lindcrest now. One other story, last year, my grandson had graduated Flex, and he was put into Lindcrest School as a transition out of Flex. And the love and caring that the staff at Lindcrest School gave him that courage to actually go out there and be a student that he wasn't necessarily, before that. So Lindcrest has such a place in my heart, and I thank you.
Mark, I just wanted to congratulate the entire staff. I know what it takes, the hard work, the initiatives that you want to make something work when there's obstacles in front of you, the long time and the devotion that you put into achieving what you've done. And it's really a community, and I wanted to thank you once again for the job well done.
Thank you. Any other board members?
Just real quick.
Yes, Jeff.
Having been a teacher for 20 years, I know exactly the kind of work that goes into doing a good job with students. That being said, I couldn't imagine having to do it with little ones all day in your room, so it takes quite the special heart that goes along with the pedagogies and the know-how and the thinking. But there's a special personality that has to go along with it, so well done for that also.
Thank you. Members of the audience, comments, questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you again. Okay, S2, retirement resolution.
The resolution regarding the retirement of Judith Montalbano, effective June 30, 2017. Whereas Ms. Judith A. Montalbano, a dedicated educator employed by the Fairlawn Board of Education since 1982, joining the staff at Memorial School as a physical education teacher and appointed as guidance counselor in 1993, has requested retirement at the end of the day on June 30th, 2017. And whereas Mrs. Montalbano, during her years of devoted service, has influenced intellectually, physical, and emotional and moral growth in her young students, and has assisted many students in evaluating their creative talents and special aptitudes for the purpose of making wise choices. And whereas Ms. Montalbano has given so much of her energy to counseling students to achieve their greatest potential in the choices that they make. Therefore, be it resolved that the Fairlawn Board of Education hereby publicly acknowledges the accomplishments of Ms. Judith A. Montalbano, who has enriched the lives of numerous students and colleagues alike, and wishes for her many satisfying and rewarding years in retirement. And be it further resolved that the Secretary to the Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes, and that the Superintendent of Schools forthwith dispatch a copy to the administrator being so honored.
Motion for S2?
So moved.
Comments, board? Mary?
So I worked with Judy for many, many years. I taught 10 years in Memorial, and I know her very well. She was a very dedicated phys ed teacher, and then moved into guidance, and has been a very dedicated guidance teacher. She actually followed her dad into the school district because her dad, Frank Montalbano, worked here and was employed for many years in administration. And Judy's just a great person. I hope she has a wonderful retirement. She deserves it, and as I said, she's just been a wonderful asset to our school.
Cindy?
Judy's a graduate of Fairlawn Fairlawn District. She graduated with my children's dad, and I don't know what it was, but they swam, Joseph and Jessica's father swam with Judy. She was a wonderful swimmer. They were on the swim team together. And they had this song regarding their last name of Euskaitis. I don't know what, it was between them. And I remember when my kids went into Memorial, Judy just had like a bubbling personality. She was always smiling, always, and when she saw Joseph and Jessica in Memorial, every time she saw them, she would sing the Euskaitis song. And it was just like hysterical, and the kids just, you know, Jessica was wearing her father's swim jacket to school, and Judy was, you know, it was just like a nice coming about, I guess, you know, her teaching somebody that she went to school with. So I'd like to wish her a very healthy retirement. And I will miss seeing her bubbly face. She has such a bubbly personality. She's a great lady, very dedicated to the district.
Sorry. You know, first of all, the fact that her father and her are institutions at Memorial School, both guidance counselors, and you know, they're really, her father passed away last year, unfortunately, and she's really going to be missed. She really knows how to get into the heads of children and to get them to do the right thing and to be able to do it. She was my son's guidance counselor when he was going to Memorial. She's just, the whole family, you know, institutions in Fairlawn, she's going to be missed. She's going to be missed.
Members of the audience, any comments? Okay, we wish her a long, happy, healthy retirement, and the recessions will be missed a great deal. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, S3, scholarships. S4, approval of district mid-year progress goals. S5, approval of district school calendar 17-18 school year. E1, attendance at conference convention workshop. E2, approval of extracurricular trips. E3, approval of students, teachers, interns, practicums, field observation placement. E4, approval of bedside home instruction. E5, no items. E6, grant entitlements. E7 and 8 and 9, no items. E10, other business. P1, approval of day-to-day substitutes and bedside home instruction personnel. P2 and P2, no items. P3, approval of resignation of personnel. P4, no items. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. P4, approval of appointment of personnel. P5, approval of leave of absence without pay. P6, there's no items. P7, salary adjustment to higher degree status, mid-year qualification. P8, approval of appointment of community school volunteer personnel. P9, approval of appointment TJ middle school personnel. P10, approval of spring sports Schedule C positions. SE1, approval of bedside home instruction for classified students, 16-17. SE2, approval of tuition, transportation for special schools providing regular special education for 16-17. SE3, approval of required related services for classified students for 16-17. F1, approval of policies. F2, approval of school use. F3, approval of discharge. F4, approval of acceptance of gifts. F5, approval of bills payable payroll. F6, approval of bills payable. F7, approval of board secretary report. F8, approval of board treasurer's report. F9, approval of transfers. F10, approval of state submission requirements. F11, approval of contracts, consortiums, cooperatives. F12, I'm sorry, on F11I, is that the one we have to show?
Yeah.
That should read, on F11I should be July 1 of 15, not 16. F12, approval of purchasing. F13, other business. I think that's it. May I have a motion, please? F11I, it's not 2016, it's 2015.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Marcus, second. You second?
No, I
didn't hear.
Michael did.
Okay, we can't do that. All right, board members, any questions, comments on the agenda items? Mary?
There's a lot of thank yous to a lot of scholarships.
Yes.
But I got a little question on where they all are.
S3.
To the National Honor Society, that's a wonderful thing, and they're gonna be fundraising, which is, you know, I mean, what a good cause to be fundraising for a scholarship. We've watched providing a scholarship for someone who's gonna go into the field of business and or education. Again, that's another wonderful, gift to us. And, there were also several grants. I lost track of where they are, but I see it. But again, we never get a grant without somebody doing a lot of work to get it. So we want to thank the people who did the work for the 2 grants and the 6. So we really have a lot of things here that, you know, are really very nice to have received.
Rod?
First of all, thank you for the gifts, Radburn School, and also the 3D printer for the high school, which is, that's such a great addition. I had, can we talk about this now, or what are we doing?
Yeah, that was fine.
Because I just have, I have a question on, where is it? Okay, draft B. Why would we, I understand why we shortened the February break. Why would we do it on a Friday? Why would we do it on a Monday?
Monday would be good.
I just, I don't know, I understand that. I don't know, if you're saying you're bringing them in for Friday, I don't agree with that. I'd rather see it find another day or something. I just don't agree bringing them in one day, especially on a week. Other than that, I don't know.
Let me respond to that. So at our last meeting, we had a conversation about what really now is labeled as draft A. And in draft A, what I had explained to the board and the community is this would provide us with a full week in December for a recess, February and April, take care of our graduation needs and take care of the prom needs. Board also, however, one of the issues that we discussed is that Martin Luther King Day, which is on January 15th, would be a half a day, and during the morning, we would do in service with staff. So there was a good conversation about the value of that and symbolism involved, and the consensus of the board at that time was to take a look at an alternative to draft A, in which we were able to close on Martin Luther King Day. So then what that did is it brought us to where could we make other adjustments, and so that's why we see the February break. What I just want to reinforce with everybody, and I'll certainly answer any questions, is that the draft day is my recommendation and is the recommendation of the administrative team. But we wanted to show you a different scenario that would allow us to do the Martin Luther King Day. So our challenge is really is the back end of the calendar. And what I mean by that is, and this is the way I have traditionally done the calendar, is what is the day that we want to close school and close it in a way that accommodates the graduation as well. So, that tends to be, in our community, that's the value. So then everything backs in one way or the other. So we reviewed this administratively. The associations had input as well. But it doesn't have to be A, it's our recommendation. But B could be one way of opening closing school on Martin Luther King Day. I want to talk a little bit more about that conversation. That was I think, a good one that we had in terms of the educational venues. So when we look at what has happened and what is happening with Martin Luther King Day in the state of New Jersey, but more importantly in Fairlawn, the conversation is what is the best way to show and to educate our teachers, through our teachers, our students, the contributions of Dr. King. And the thought was really between we can close school, give everybody off, or we could have school open, and during the half-day part of it do educational programs. So that was the conversation that took place, and at the end of the day, the recommendation was from the staff, administrative and teaching staff, that our preference would be to have the half-day, and that during that day, we would then be assured that we are addressing the contributions of this American leader. So that's a little bit of the history of it. So can there be other modifications? We could look at other holidays. I do want to add just one other thing in addition to my comments the last time. When we met the last time about this winter, the February break, I talked about why it's important from a health point of view and a school cleanliness point of view. So let me add a little bit to that. I think it's important to close school for the full week. As it turned out afterwards, we just had a outbreak at the high school. We notified parents and staff of whooping cough. So fortunately, we'll be closed all the next week. That's going to help us. One of the other things that I didn't talk about, just because I didn't think about it, is that in the week that's coming up, starting on Monday, we have a significant number of projects from a buildings and grounds point of view that we are actively pursuing, and I think Joanne or Brooke has that list of what's happening next week. And this is what we'd like to do if we're able to have that full week next year, it would be similar, but can you go over that?
Sure, this is going home, update to you tomorrow. We have mandatory lead water testing throughout the district. We're disinfecting all schools because of all the sickness that we've had, flu, and as Marie said, whooping cough. We're installing the PA system in B gym. We're painting 6 classrooms at the high school and 4 at Forest. Replacing a 10-inch steam header gasket in the A boiler room at the high school. Replacing a boiler feed pump in the B boiler room at the high school. We're diamond polishing the A wing first floor hallway. We're getting, our staff will be trained on some equipment that we have for power washing and disinfecting gang bathrooms. We also have some other contracted work. They're going to be sidewalk replacements at Bergen Avenue. We have window replacements in the A boys locker room at the high school. And we're replacing a 100-amp feeder. Our in-house crew will be replacing a 100-amp feeder at PJ Electrical. Forest gym floor, we're addressing that. So, I mean, we would not be able to address these things if we had school. This is really a week that we are using to accomplish so many projects that I don't, they would have to wait until April, and I don't know how we would do that. We certainly couldn't do some of this work as students in the building.
Mayor.
So, I'm in favor of draft day. I'm in favor of draft day for all the reasons that were mentioned tonight. But I was in favor of it last time also, because this is the calendar that our administration and staff see as working best for the district. and the last time that was enough for me. The experts in the district recommended a calendar, that was good enough. As I look at the two of them now, I really cannot see 4 days off or 3 days off there, and then a Friday, expecting anybody to come in. I mean, it seems like a ludicrous calendar to me. I see no sense to it. So I speak to calendar A, I support calendar A, and I hope we don't have hours of conversation. If 5 of us support this calendar A, I hope we don't go on for hours about some reason we should not have it.
All right, I'm not going to go on for hours, but I will state that I do abstain in my vote because I don't really favor either of them. I think we are not paying enough recognition to a major national holiday by not giving the staff and the students off. But I also see that we're doing an injustice and we're penalizing the staff by having them come back on a Friday. My thoughts, which I had made mention of before, is the month of June is very limited when it comes to learning. And I really think that they should have added the extra day on the end of June, which would have given the entire week off for February to do whatever you needed to do, to give the staff a needed break as well as the students for the week off, and to pay recognition to Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Okay. Like Mr. Smith, I'm in favor of neither. I feel that, I'm trying to word this nicely. When we get 2 calendars and the only difference is for us to like have kids and teachers come in on a Friday after 4 days of vacation, it corners us and really doesn't give us much of a real choice besides to take calendar A. And I feel that, again, even though I'm against the long February break, I understand the reasons you have, but those days can be used elsewhere. I'm not opposed to school going to June 25th. I still am not convinced about the day after the prom, you know, giving everyone off because the seniors are away, some juniors. And I'm going to abstain also because I can't see myself wanting for either one of these. I felt that when we asked for another choice, we were going to get another choice. I don't feel that we got that. I feel that we got such we got a calendar that we couldn't vote for instead.
Anyone else? Mike?
I was looking at the calendar, and I don't agree, respectfully, don't agree with Mr. Spindell. Just, I think if you add it to the end of June, that is causing the kids are checked out, and I would much rather school be ending earlier because otherwise you have more of the month of June that the kids would be checked out after Memorial Day. Is there a reason, I don't really want to prolong it, but is there a reason, the teachers used to go back to school for 1 in-service day and then we start school, and now all of a sudden we're going back, we have 2 in-service days for the teachers at the beginning of the year. So, like, I would think a possibility would be to start school on Tuesday with the teachers coming in on the 1st and then start school. The teachers were going to come in on the 1st anyway, so that didn't, that doesn't hurt the teachers. And so what would be the opposition of starting school on Tuesday and then giving Martin Luther King's birthday off?
We want to front load the professional development. So one of our issues this year in the current school year calendar is that we have very little time for professional development. And as a result of that, we've gone to a model in which much of our PD is also conducted outside of the district. And so as a result of that, although that's not bad per se, we're not allowed to present thematic concepts to the staff up front. So if we have PD up front before the classroom instruction begins, that's the model we are pursuing. The later we offer the PD, and we can continue during the year, and you'll see some of that built in, but then we've had instructional time that's occurred. So that's the real value, is to do as much PD as possible in the month of September before the school year begins with children. So that's, I mean, that was the heart of it. It's as simple as that.
And I just want to add on to that, just a couple of specifics. You know, we have the new next generation science standards, grade 3 to 5, so we get some really good quality time with the teachers at the beginning. Phonics first in the first grade will help us with the teachers. Again, next gen science standards 6 through 8. So it's just with different initiatives going on, it's super helpful to have the teachers at the beginning of the year, so we can review curriculum work that was done over the summer and just provide them with those full day trainings that they really need for new programs and such.
But by the way,
Yeah, go ahead.
I am still in favor of the February break. I think this year in particular has really proven that
I agree, Natalie, with you 100% that in-service should be done closer to the beginning of the school year. However, when I look at this calendar, there's an in-service in June. And I know that when you are in service, you like to take that knowledge and impart it to your students and run with it and do your exercises. But I think when you're doing it in June, you're going to miss a lot of it because the students really are not in the mood to learn anything new. The teachers really are at that point in time collecting all the books, all the materials, they're getting ready to close down school. So I don't really find very much value when you're doing in-service in June as compared to when you would do it in September or October or November, when you can really go with it and implement it. So if that day were eliminated, and you might find a different, scenario by having school then for everybody and then being able to give off on the 15th as well. And
Jeff, is the 2 days in November, the 9th and 10th NJEA Teachers Weekend, are those contractual that they're off?
Yeah.
Statutory.
I thought there were some districts that do bring their, like Penafly, that bring their teachers in.
They have a right to take it off. They can be required to prove that they were at the convention, but the statute gives them the right to take it. So most districts do close.
Let's see, because there are 2 days right there. And I also agree with the assessment, Mike's assessment and Mark's assessment, that both of those days, one of them can be used to get that Martin Luther King Day off.
So when do you do the in-service? If you.
I think that you would eliminate the 8th.
So you eliminate the in-service on the 8th of June.
Yeah.
You eliminate the in-service on the 5th.
No, you only need to do one.
So they only have 2 in-service days instead of 3.
That would go again. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works, Elise.
Well, I mean, as far as in-service goes, a few years ago, we were very creative because the calendar ended on a Monday. And we gave the teachers the option of doing, there was like after-school in-service or Saturday, there were like certain things that would apply to, that they did that we offered the required amount of hours. And they were allowed to take those hours, like separately from having like the full in-service day. And then if they wanted to be off, because the calendar would essentially, they would have to come in on Monday. Let's just say the way this calendar is ending up. And so they didn't have to come in on Monday if they documented in-service training prior to that Monday. I mean, I think.
Part of our concern though is we have to do certain in-service things, so we can't sort of make it optional. We have to train them in certain things that are mandated.
you know, by law. And we also have to do certain trainings for things that we are doing in the district, so that, I know what you're, I know what you're saying.
I mean, I don't know how many hours are the mandatory things are like, I don't know, like sexual harassment and EpiPens and things like that. And those are things that can be done online, and they just have to be documented that they're done. I mean, I'm just trying to think creatively to, you know, we extended the school the extra day. Nobody would actually have to come in if they did, because that's about 8 hours or 6 hours worth of training that could all be done, you know, it could all be done by the end of September if somebody wanted to complete that. It could all be done, but they could just, because you just do it. You just watch the video and take a little quiz at the end and you're done with it. And then they can sign off, the principal, or however you would do it, could sign off on that they've completed, because that's like 6 hours worth of training, which would be a whole day's worth of in-service training. So it would be on the calendar as a school day, but it would not, you know what I mean? Nobody would have to show up to be in school, because the training would be done. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right. I mean, because I really think that it's time for us to have Martin Luther King Day off, and I totally respect the idea of when we used to have the half day and the half day. But I also think you could do that half day the Friday before. You could, not the half day, but you could have the Martin Luther King activities, you know, before the Monday holiday. It doesn't have to be on the Monday that is the holiday.
Mayor?
The question was, is the June 8th in-service day, is that the day after song?
Yes, that's the day.
Okay, I'm gonna be very unpopular because I've always objected to giving the day off just because the seniors had the phone. And I, you know, we did it for years because we were told that we would be liable for whatever the seniors did when they didn't show up to school. If they were down the shore and they did this or they did that, that there was a liability issue.
The school was in session, you know, apparently that's not true.
My point was, if I as a parent say my daughter will not be in school tomorrow, on any other day of the school year, that seems to be all right. So I always wondered why we couldn't just have the parents of the prom goers just say, my child will not be in school tomorrow, and have school. I know that's unpopular, I know that's, people don't like hearing that, but I felt that for like 20 years. So.
Okay, so if we take away June 8th as an in-service day, and make that a full day, we give the kids off on, you close school on the 15th, do we do it third in-service day, or we don't do it?
Do the in-service day on the 15th?
So the kids get off, but the teachers have to work. Well, isn't that like
Yes, that's nice.
6 of one, half dozen of the other? Do we not do the third in-service day?
What is the third in service
I'm just gonna say that this year we really have been out to work with our staff on some really necessary things. I would really lose that third in service day. I think it's so important for us to work with our teachers, and we just don't get that time.
I'm just gonna reiterate what I said, because I don't know, you could figure out what the exact hours are, but I know if it's, you know, EpiPen training, which is 45 minutes, and sexual harassment training, which is an hour and a half, like, you could figure out exactly which ones those are, and they could be even done on the weeks that you don't have faculty meetings.
Well, that's when we normally do it. We don't use those full days for those things, except when it's suicide awareness, then we use that. But we really do it to work with our teachers on, you know, New Jersey Student Learning Standards, curriculum stuff, other professional development is what we really use it for. And I mean, 3 out of is the minimum I would ideally love to have, but we really, this year, didn't get that kind of time, and we are really looking to get the staff together. Is part of our issue. We try to do it even on faculty meeting days, but Middle school and high school are on opposite schedules, so we can never get the entire department together at all during the school year, except when we have days off. So it's just really a challenge, because department meetings are, it's different, the way that it's set up. It's a struggle. Again, I'm, you know, if you ask me, I just think 3 days would be great for in-service, that's all. That's my feeling on it.
Right. I got a question. We have 3 professional learning days. Okay, early dismissal on election day. Why can't we do something with that? Why can't you make that, what like Marcus, you were talking, to get the in-service day closer to there?
It is.
What?
It is there. That is an in-service. Are you talking about November 7th?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already on there.
Service
Doesn't
teachers.
say
It doesn't say that.
Says it's
It
a half day.
This says early dismissal.
Early dismissal.
Look at the very first line.
In-service teachers, early dismissal students. No, he doesn't.
Says a half day. It says it's half day.
But that counts as a full day of school.
Right.
That counts because we get the 4.5 hours or whatever you need, so that counts as a full day of school. I don't see any other way to do it than draft day, I really don't. Unless you take away one of the New Year's days, which I don't think that's gonna work. You can't really take the teachers' convention. We're not coming in the day after Thanksgiving, we're not coming in Christmas week. Nobody wants to do 4 days in February. Good Friday and the Easter week we're not gonna do, and then there's Memorial Day. I don't see how else you do it. Other than breaking it up like 45 minutes here, an hour there, like Lisa was saying, which sounds to me like an administrative nightmare. So,
Or if you took away that September 1st,
Yeah, but you're losing-
you still need to find another day for teachers to come in.
exactly. There's no other days. This is the way that falls this year.
Not going to, I'm not voting for anything before Labor Day, Kevin Kim said, I'm sorry, no offense to the teachers, but. Because I think that, no, I'm saying if you take that away, I mean, you're looking to add a day to that?
That can't happen this year because they can't go to the first.
All right, we've been around the room on this. So, when we vote, you're voting on draft day. So if you don't like draft day, you vote no or abstain or whatever. But draft day is what's in the agenda.
Okay.
And then also, with regard to the teacher's contract or anything in JEA, you teachers, remember, you got to abstain.
Wait, are we voting on, I still have other things I wanted on that. I thought we were only talking about the calendar,
Oh, we are, but I'm just reminding you.
because I had other things on.
You know, I got it.
Okay,
All right, wait, are we done with the calendar? Yes, we're done with the calendar, okay.
okay.
You had something else?
Yeah, a couple things.
I just wanted, while I was thinking about it, remind you about that.
I have a couple. I mean, so I can frame this correctly, when we talked about the budget last month, that was an open session?
Yeah.
Right? We talked about the budget and the budget presentation was an open session, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. So then it's no secret that we have some challenges before us in terms of money. Specifically, more in the future than today. I don't know about my colleagues, but I did find it alarming. What could be the possible tax raise for our citizens. I feel that we should start saving all the money we can now. So I'm looking at F2, and I'm seeing that a lot of organizations get to come here and use our facilities for free, and a lot of them didn't even have custodial charges attached to them. And I think that when you can, it's great to be able to give those things to people and to not charge, but I don't know if we're in the position to be doing that anymore. So,
I just wanted to clarify, if there's no custodial charges, it's actually because it's, like, our students are participating in something, and because another organization is hosting, like, for instance, it's the North Jersey School Music Association. It's because they filled out the facilities form, but it's our students performing. Same thing with the junior wrestling state qualifying, we're just hosting it, so as, for insurance purposes, we put it on the board agenda.
Yeah, but custodial charges apply on a qualifier.
Yeah, so if it's another, we charge them.
Right.
There's also shared services agreements on some stuff about.
There's a policy, too.
We have a policy and regs, and
Well,
we did update our regs, last January, as you might recall, we did increase our rates for Class C organizations, which means if you're not associated with Fairlawn, we increase our facility use fee
I
for
recall.
exactly that purpose.
I recall. The other one, again, this is gonna be unpopular amongst a group of people, but F11, I believe it's G, I abstain on it. Are those numbers public?
F11.
G?
Non-motion?
No, sorry, did I get the right one, the FLASA contract?
H.
H, I'm sorry. Are those numbers public?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to mention that?
Yeah.
Okay. I believe that, again, we're in a jam now financially, and I know the people work hard in that organization, in that union, but I do not believe in I don't believe in 2.5% raises when we're only allowed to, as a philosophy, if we're only allowed to raise taxes 2%, which I would love to do less, but if we can only raise 2%, to give out more than that in raises, this seems extraordinarily counterintuitive, especially considering the budgetary challenges that we have in front of us this year and the years to come. This one goes through 18-19. For every penny that we have to take away from the budget, with respect to that 2%, we're giving it to other people and it stays out of our classrooms and it stays out of the pockets of the people who are paying taxes. Again, this is not personal, this is just a fiduciary philosophy that we can only raise your taxes 2%. I can't see giving out more than 2% raises to anyone. It makes no sense. Especially considering also, remember our healthcare costs go up, what, 15%? The money has to come from somewhere, and it's gonna come out of kids if we give it these raises out. And get no offense, they're well compensated, and they make a lot of money, and those are large raises. I'm sure that most people in this town would.
I get so many conversations.
Anyway, I think you get my point, so that's a big no for me, and again, it's not personal, it's just a financial philosophy that just is, it's just math, simple math. So.
Any other items you wanted to discuss?
No, that was it.
Okay.
Can I just get clarification, was that on H and I or just H?
We can't vote on it.
Oh, you can't talk about I? Okay.
I is the other union.
Just a quick question on our board goals on page 27. I'm just looking at it quickly.
Yes.
3, A, B, C, D, E. Are these the ones I sent to you, or is this coming from what Natalie sent?
I believe it's what came from you.
No, I was just, I
Comes on
was
the-
confused when I read
Yeah,
it.
we just cleaned it up a little bit.
Yeah, but I rewrote it.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, I know, but I polished it grammatically and everything. I was just wondering which one, that's all, I'm fine.
Okay. Any other board members on anything on the agenda?
Oh, God.
Members of the audience, any discussion, questions on any of the agenda items? No? Okay, seeing none. may I have a roll call,
Yeah,
please?
can I ask, I'm sorry, can we
Oh.
go back 30 seconds?
No,
No.
no, we don't have a time machine. We
Can I
will
get-
stop time, but we can't get back.
Can I get a
Application?
yeah,
Ready
on,
to go to vote?
yes, thank you. So you're great.
Always think about it.
On what? No.
On page 27, where Mary just was, engage in a comprehensive C, 3C. What is the audit for, I'm sorry? What does that mean?
Engage in a comprehensive audit of the special education program in the Fairlawn Public Schools. Ernie.
One of the
Elaborate on that?
recommendations, one of the recommendations that I have, and I believe it's one that would enhance our programs in the district, and it's something that other districts will do from time to time, is to create what's called an RFP, request for proposals. And this would go out to people from the outside. They could be educational experts and/or legal experts who would come in and look at our special ed program and then make recommendations for enhancements, improvements. So that's the basic purpose of it. And I shared this with the board as well as our director, and everyone thinks it's a good idea, because what that would do is we would look at what are the programs we have, what are programs that similar districts have, so I'm hoping that we can learn from it. And what's nice about it is that I think that internally, our folks are overwhelmed. If we bring in somebody neutral who has expertise, they would come in independent and say, this is where we should be going. And I think that it would be a positive step in that regard. And part of it also is related to, we look at the two components of the special ed program is we have a significant number of students. We also have a significant component of the budget that is special ed. So we have our special ed, just the budget alone and the students alone are bigger than many school districts total in size. You're talking about a significant course offerings, finance implications, and it would be a good way to keep us in touch of what is state of the art. And I think it's always good to look at ourselves and ask, can we do that? So that's what the purpose of it would be. RFP is a request. So various consultants would put in prices and we would examine that, do interviews and pick the one that would be within, we think is appropriate.
So being like one of the largest Bergen County special education districts.
The large.
I didn't want to brag.
You could say
So like, who comes in to do this audit again? Like,
Well, I mean, we don't know who would come in, but normally it would be consultants in special education and consultants in special education law.
and the long-term goal is to improve the program.
Yes.
I like that goal.
So
do we.
Okay, any other members of the audience want to go back in time? No? All right, have a roll call, please.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Yes.
You can make.
Mrs. Franco?
You know, abstain.
On everything?
Oh, sorry.
You have to abstain, you have to,
S5.
you have to
And then
abstain
I
on
can't,
the.
Abstain on F11.
Is it
Aye.
F11I?
I'm going to say no on S5. I'm going to say no on F11H, and I'm going to abstain on F11I because I'm an NJEA member.
No on S5. Mrs. Piella?
Yes, and I abstain on F11I.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Oh, yes, I abstain on F2B.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes, abstain on F11I.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes, abstain on S5, and abstain on FH, and abstain on FI. 11I, I'm sorry, 11H and 11I.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Vancia?
Yes. We're good. Now time to open up the floor to members of the audience to speak on any topic that they wish to ask questions on or make comments on. Yes, ma'am, you state your name for the tape.
Hi, I'm Robin Wilters from Forest School. I heard that you're planning over the February break, hearing concern of our gym floor. Our parents, we have a lot of parents here tonight, we know nothing what's going on in the school. One day our kids are in gym, having gym, the next day we're told, our children are coming home telling us they're out of the school, out of the gym for the rest of the year. A day later, we're back in the gym. My concern is the health of our children, the mold. We've had a bad leak. They're saying, one day we're hearing there is mold in the school, next day we're hearing there's not mold in the school, and we're just very concerned for our children and the safety of our children.
Joanne?
Yes.
Is there mold?
No, there's
Okay,
no mold.
thank you.
We're patching next week. We opened up the floor to air it out, and that's what we're doing next week, is to make another patch. I'm not going to be able to replace the entire
Right.
floor until the summer.
That's what we were told. It's just nothing has been said to the families of the school. Principal Weaver hasn't said anything to us. A lot of parents are very concerned, because our kids are coming home going, oh my God, we're not going to have gym for the rest of the year. A day later, they're back in. So it's...
I don't know how to, rumors amongst children and what they may hear or say to each other. I wasn't aware that the principal didn't let.
Yeah, no, we knew we had the flood problem. It was obvious our floor was this high up. And, and then we cut a hole in it and we put plywood down. Now the kids are getting splinters because of the plywood. It's just...
Well, I'm unaware of that.
Yeah. Well, that's for aftercare. We have aftercare in there, and it's really pretty bad.
Well, we'll look at it again to make
Thank
sure
you.
that's not happening.
Okay, thank you.
Why don't you just make sure
We'll make
that...
sure that the principal notifies you.
Yes.
I can tell you that the business office and my office looked at a number of scenarios. And I know there was a request by parents for use of the gym. You have two big occasions coming up.
That was...
We discussed this with the principal, and the option was, we could have remediated the entire
Right.
floor now.
Right.
Or we could have just lived with it, done the patching that's necessary, and do the repairs. His input was that we live with it, do whatever patching is necessary, so that now will become a summer project.
Right, yes.
So I apologize that you did not get any communication.
We did get that, you looked at it, it was assessed, and when you went to fix it, it won't be done until the summer, and then that was it. And then we've been in gym, we haven't been in gym, we're having lunch in the classrooms, we're not having lunch in the classrooms. So it's like, parents are like, well, what the heck's going on in the school?
Just so everyone knows then, so I'll make sure, as I said, that Mr. Weaver sends something out tomorrow to all of you, because our practice is that on every Friday, the principal will send me something, and then I'm sharing it with the board through the update that you guys get. But based on the input that we received from the principal, we're going to have to live with it for the year, so that he was very cognizant of your request to come in because you have the two fundraisers. So
Right.
his
Well,
assessment.
I would just, with the fundraisers, I didn't know if we had to move locations,
Right.
but that wasn't the big deal. My concern is the health of the children if there was mold.
And there is no mold.
That's perfect.
So everything was checked. And
Yeah,
when we
can
come
you-
back in September, you'll have a new gym.
Well, no, I'll be in Memorial.
When she'll do the play sport.
We'll give you the basketball.
Let me take one.
Okay, I'm Jody Steinhardt. Same topic as the gym floor. What's the smell then in the gym?
I
You guys all look at me like I
But I know
made
we
something
tested
up.
air quality, it's not mold.
Well, there's an odor that emanates, that my daughter comes home and says it's the headache from the gym. She hasn't had any in a while, now they're back in the gym, or she was the other day, she comes home with a headache.
We've had no reports over here of any
No one
odors
has
or anything.
reported any illness to us.
So how did the mold testing and all that, is that report gonna come home to the parents so we can look at it, or is it just gonna stay amongst?
There's no evidence of mold there.
So there's a water leak, and there's no, and it sat for a while before they figured it out, and there's no evidence of mold?
No.
So it wasn't tested, though, you're just saying there's no evidence
It
of
was
mold?
inspected, I don't know if there was.
It was inspected, yes.
Yeah, and there was, nobody saw any mold.
That's not true, because my aftercare woman told me that when they lifted up the floor, that it was all black.
That's, there's mastic underneath there.
That's the paper like stuff you put on top of the light.
Right, that's tar paper. Right.
Believe me, if we even had a hint that there was mold, there would be no children in that gym. We take your children's safety very seriously. If there was a scintilla of evidence of mold, we would remediate it right away, believe me. We have no desire for your children to get sick. And we've had buildings and grounds, person over there, Joanne's been over there, nobody has seen any evidence of mold. And if there were, we would do something about it right away. Take my word. Any other members? Oh, Mel, you have it.
Yeah, I'm praying for great weather moving forward. However, remember this issue that I brought up last meeting or the meeting before about the snow problem?
Shoveling.
The snow problem behind Westmoreland and in front of Edison. Well, it just snowed the last snowfall when we got like 6 to 8 inches, whatever it was. And the plows did exactly the same thing they did the first time it snowed. And they built a great wall of snow at the end of the crosswalk at Westmoreland. And up in the front here, they pull out onto the sidewalk so that when we walk our kids into school, we have to walk them through the parking lot because the sidewalk is full of snow.
Not the sidewalk on the street, sidewalk.
Right in front of the, not the visitor parking, what's the one on this side?
15-minute parking?
Yes, the sidewalk in front of there.
Oh, that wasn't shoveled. Oh,
No, and they plowed on too, so it's still melting. We still don't have a sidewalk in front of Edison, and the same thing for the, behind Westmoreland. They did the walkway, but at the end of the crosswalk, there's a mountain of snow again. So now the kids are crossing on the crosswalk, walking down the street to go up the sidewalk, the blacktop driveway thing.
So we shoveled and the borough flags it back on.
There is no way to get
Well, there's
onto
no-
the sidewalk from that crosswalk by Westmoreland, right?
Right,
we're
it's
talking about
grass.
Westmoreland.
The-
Grass. So when they plow
Right.
and they create a mountain, we would have to cut through the mountain of snow to get the to give the kids access. They would be walking on the grass, right?
Right.
And I thought that we agreed that we always try and make a little path through there. So you're saying that didn't happen?
No.
Okay.
So they were
Well,
still walking down the
Did anybody say anything? Because I thought the custodian at Westmoreland was gonna try and make sure he made just a little path at the end of where the crosswalk would be. So that you could get onto the sidewalk and not be walking on the street.
Yeah, no, and if you look, there's still like feet prints like that go up through the snow now. That wasn't corrected or whatever, that wasn't handled.
Okay, I see Brooke making a note.
We'll work.
Okay.
And then over
You're doing the
here,
old
they
fashioned.
plow the snow from the parking lot onto the sidewalk. So, that's the same situation.
No, they should not be firing it on the side of the bank. All right, they're gonna look into it.
But let's just pretend there's no more snow coming, and then it won't be.
Won't be this weekend.
There will be. Oh, good.
Any other members of the audience? Yes, sir.
Two comments, Christopher McCarlo, Westmoreland. One, to the Westmoreland point, there is no sidewalk currently, so the custodian wouldn't be clearing the path. There isn't, it's not paved, So when you have the crosswalk, it leads to nothing. Actually, the crosswalk stops at grass. So the one problem we have is, there's about a 25 to 30 foot from the crosswalk to the blacktop path that Westmoreland has for the kids. So on good days, the kids have to go through the grass, and when it rains and everything, the puddles and so forth. What's happening is doing the snow plowing, when those snow banks are being done, the kids are completely forced to have to walk on the street. There is no option. There is no walking through grass. You don't get to grass.
Right.
You're basically on the street. So I've witnessed, I'm the PTO president, that all parents who are dropping off kids in that area, we start to kind of almost block the streets with our vehicles so that kids can safely be led into the path. The path to Westmoreland is cleared. The sidewalk doesn't exist. And I think that maybe next month we can illustrate that with photos, because I think that for those who aren't familiar with the school, it's difficult to envision what we're referring to.
I sent photos to
What?
Tom Central.
Okay, so there is no sidewalk. That's an issue that, we want to take on. But as far as when the snow, what the plows are doing is, as they're going through the street, they are basically blocking off the access that the kids have to be on the grass, which is a safer option than what we're forced to do when it snows, which is all kids have to be on the street to get from the vehicles or from walking from the homes behind to the school. There is no other option.
Joe?
Excuse me, Mel, I feel like we talked about this last meeting, and I know you got in touch with Tom Senko, and he got in touch with the borough, but I'm not remembering right now what I thought we got back to you with that it's a borough issue, and didn't we get an answer from them? They gave us an answer on.
Tom didn't come back to me with an answer. He asked me to send him pictures of what I was talking about.
I thought we got an answer.
So I
Sorry.
sent him the pictures, and he said that they have to plow, and I said obviously, but he said that he was gonna maybe see if maybe the custodian can snow blow the grass area and make a path.
Yes.
Where there is no sidewalk, but
Exactly.
just make one.
That's
It
what I
wasn't
meant.
made.
Oh, that's
So-
what I've already written to him about.
Okay,
For this gentleman, there was something more about the specifics
Right,
of
I
the
just-
town. I feel like it wasn't.
I'll check my email.
Something
real
we
quick.
were able to do ourselves, but it was more a borough issue on
Okay.
making that.
Okay, I knew that was an ongoing issue that would take some time to really get to the bottom. When I heard your comments, I just wanted to make sure that, it's not as simple as the custodian just forgot to clear out the small path. With the snow that we had, I don't think, even if he attempted to, he would really have the ability to be able to clear that
Well,
path.
that's all he could have done. That's all we would offer to do at this point in time.
Right.
So, but well, he could have dug it out then, just make some kind of a way for.
Yeah, but if you have a mountain of 12 feet of snow, because the town's putting on, you can't make a path with 12 feet of snow. Well, if you put it somewhere.
I wasn't told that that wasn't possible, because that was the last.
All right, so you'll talk to Tom.
Yes.
Tom will talk to Jimmy Van again, and we'll figure out before the next time it snows, exactly what the course of action is. Okay.
And-
Yes.
Thank you. Second comment, and again, I'm not very familiar with the Forest School, and I obviously believe the board would take every action to protect our children, and there's nothing being done malicious. But just for clarification, and again, in the language that I heard, I'm in the disaster management world, and I'm a hashtag person, and hazmat. There's a difference between testing and inspection, and I'm wondering whether it might have been inspected, and if so, was that independent or by school personnel? But was it tested versus inspected? Inspectors, you take a look, testing is, you're taking samples.
I don't think there's any
There's
samples
nothing to
taken.
test. There's no evidence, there's nothing to look at, there's nothing to pull up.
Okay.
It was inspected by a company.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so it was done by a special
Yeah, it was-
company? Okay.
yeah,
I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
And those results are public? the results of the testing company, are they public?
They weren't tested.
The
Inspection.
inspection,
Is the inspection
are those results
public?
public?
Was there a
Inspection
report?
public?
Is there a report?
Somebody came in and fell on the floor.
Right, but so just,
Wait, wait, one at a time.
No, what I'm asking, is there a report on that?
There is not a written report, no.
Thank you.
could there be? And pass to the parents of the school?
Well,
This is a concern, I understand.
I
what you're
understand
doing,
it's a
what you-
concern, but I don't want to panic here either. It was inspected by an independent company who came in and opened the floor and
Correct.
inspected it. They saw no evidence of mold. There was no evidence of mold, so there's no reason to do any testing. There was a conversation with the business office, Tom Senko, and the company, and we were told there was no mold.
Can they, yeah, so we,
Well,
so us as
Well, if a
parents.
letter would make everybody feel better, we'll get a letter,
Sure,
but
it
it's
would,
just,
it would.
okay, all right, we'll get a letter. All right. I mean, it's just a little bit disturbing to me that you're not taking our word for it, but that's okay, I understand the.
But it's me telling other parents, it's hearsay.
But,
Like,
you know-
I could have said I came here tonight and said something, and I'm just saying, oh, they told me there's no mold. I mean,
Right.
it looks better coming from you to the parents,
I
instead of
agree
me saying to the
with you,
parents.
but here's the thing, that independent company, they put it on a letterhead, they're taking responsibility, so it falls on them, and if there is a problem, their insurance has got to cover it.
Well, I don't care about the insurance.
Well,
The
I'm
insurance
just
is not
saying,
the issue.
but that's
The issue is that there's mold.
But no,
Okay, and there
the issue is
isn't.
that-
We'll do the letter.
Okay.
We'll do the letter. I'm not worried about liability.
They want a letter.
They're not worried about
No, they
liability.
want a
They're
letter.
worried about whether or not
That's
there's
all I'm
mold.
asking.
They want a letter from the company. That makes everybody feel better. That's what we'll do.
Okay, we're not necessarily just worried about the mold, we're worried about the safety of the people in the school. You seem to think that it's just this one issue.
Mold
We have no communication. So we're
Well,
hearing.
that's a problem. That's on us.
That
That's on
is,
us. I'll
so
take the
you
hit for
just
that.
said that, what you just said, now I can't remember what you said, but it was very disrespectful that,
they
no,
were
I
not
don't
taking
take
his
your,
word
taking
for it.
your word for it.
Oh.
I'm sorry,
Well,
that's just disrespectful to us. We are concerned parents for
I
everybody in the
understand.
school.
I understand
And you
that.
say something, but if we have no communication whatsoever, because we have very little communication with our principal. So you are saying that we are supposed to just accept what you say when we get nothing.
You didn't get anything to principal. I apologize for that. You
But
should
on
have.
anything, not just this.
Well, I don't know what anything means. I'm not sure. This is the only issue I'm.
Okay,
aware
on
of
this
at
issue,
point.
we have received nothing.
Okay, all right, and we're gonna rectify that. Tomorrow, you will receive something. Your concern about the issue in the gym is understandable, okay? But I'm telling you that we looked into it, that I've been told by several people that there's no mold. You would like something a little bit more firm than that, I can understand it, okay? But I am just a little bit concerned that you would think we're trying to hide something, and maybe that's not what you're saying. Maybe I'm taking you wrong because I've been sick for 4 days. I don't know. But I just want you to be absolutely certain that we are not hiding anything. We'll be glad to give you whatever information you need. And if you haven't gotten it so far, I apologize for that.
Right, okay, and I understand, you can see we're thinking you're hiding. It's not that we think you're hiding anything, because I don't know what you would be hiding. It's the fact that this has happened in, I think, October,
Right.
and nothing has been said, from October till now, nothing has been said, nothing has been sent home to the parents about this issue.
Nothing's gone home since the flood. to tell you about the
Nothing.
gym.
Nothing.
Okay, well, that's not
So,
right.
yes, we do kind of feel something is being hidden, because nothing has come home.
Okay, well, all right, I didn't realize that you heard nothing about anything. I thought it was just this one particular issue.
No.
I didn't realize that since this in October, you've never heard anything. So that's a mistake. That will be rectified, and you will get something tomorrow. And I apologize for my tone. I didn't mean to insult anyone or be disrespectful. Okay, it's just that it's an emotional issue, and I understand that you're concerned, but I got the feeling that you thought, and maybe I was reading it wrong, that we're trying to hide something or holding something back, and we're not. And we're gonna be very open about it, and you'll get something tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and I saw a hand back there.
No, all I was gonna do was kind of interject and hopefully kind of smooth it out to say, it's not that we would necessarily question your word. I think what we were probably more questioning was, why didn't we as a board or as a district ask the company that came in basically, we shouldn't be trusting their word. In other words, we should ask for something in writing, like Ronnie had suggested, so that we have something to fall back on if something should go wrong. That was, I think, the implication and the misunderstanding.
Okay, all right, I understand. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Last comment, I promise.
No, it's all right. You're all
So, again, just, I'm independent of this, but I will say to you, I want to offer you a different perspective. Had this been Westmoreland, I would have demanded back in November the letter. I'll tell you why. Because as part of the board for Westmoreland, it's going to give me, it's going to finish and stop the rumors. So if we're going to be a team and I'm going to support you, I'm going to need the bullets to be able to go and fire and take care of those rumors in the bud. So it's not a question about whether we question that you're hiding anything. At least, again, I'm not a parent in that school. But I would demand it because I will go back and make sure that that doesn't spread, because in the absence of information, it's going to be assumed, optics are gonna look bad. So it's basically it's really a way of saying, look, it was done. Especially hearing now that it's been since October, that really adds to it.
Well, I didn't realize that there'd been no communication since October.
Yeah, so
It
my
was just the
point
one
is-
particular issue when we cut open the floor.
My
So,
point is just to say that in order for me and our board to have been able to support the Board of Ed, we would have needed that letter to really make a strong statement in the fact that the action took place and really rest any potential.
I understand, I do. I apologize for anything that I may have said that came out as disrespectful. I apologize for not having had the information before now, but we will rectify it now that we're made fully aware of it. We'll make sure that you get the information that you need.
Thank you.
So that
Thank
you
you.
and your community can feel that everything is copacetic.
Thank you.
Joey?
I want to also say, if there's ever a concern about anything to do with the building or in terms of safety, or if you see something needs to be repaired or whatever, feel free, if you've spoken with your principal and you did, and whichever principal it is, and you didn't get results, you can call my office anytime.
Thank you.
Mike?
I was basically gonna say what she just said.
Okay. Any other members of the audience? Any questions, comments?
I just want to thank the board members who have volunteered to come mystery read for the Place Book Fair. There's a handful of you that have volunteered, and I greatly appreciate the time that you guys come and support our stuff.
Thank you.
We like your stuff. You agreed to do it.
I think what he's saying is, we haven't gotten anything back since we said yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
March
what I'm saying.
1st. March 1st. I will put flyers in all your mailboxes, probably tomorrow, because
Not sending emails?
I can send an email.
We would do that because we're not here for another week, so.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, members of the board. Mark?
Yes. I'm the liaison for two committees that I wanted to report on, but I also attended the Honor Society induction, and I just wanted to say that it was a wonderful experience. There were over 70 inductees this year. And I also wanted to say that Mr. Marcello wanted me to convey the following, that he was sincerely appreciative of all that the board has done to enable all the programs that have gone on in the district, especially at the high school. Regarding the committees, first is the community school. We discussed at our meeting the new course offerings, and we were told that all these course offerings can now be done online. You don't have to do them walking in to register. Mr. Shansky is also working on some of the PTOs, or meeting with some of the PTOs to discuss new ideas and to ensure that the PTOs are not duplicating what's going to be offered with the community school offerings. Mr. Shansky was also invited recently to one of the Rotary clubs to establish better community relations with them, and also to advertise with them to see if they could provide the community school with some of the instructors for some of the programs. that they wanted to run. On March 15th, there's going to be an open house for the summer activities in which all can sign up if interested. We were also given bylaws which have not been revised for the last, I think, 30 years or so. So we're going to be reviewing those and coming up with suggestions at our next meeting. And also the last, we're going to be probably taking a booth out at the street fair coming up in June so that we can give more information to the community about what's being offered from the community school. The other committee that I'm on is the Fairlawn Alliance for Substance Abuse. We met last night, and as you may be or may not be aware, there is a program going on at Memorial School in which it's called Second Step Program. They're going to be providing this to this school. It has to do with abuse of drugs as well as peer pressure and bullying, and they were thinking about possibly doing it in Memorial School. However, at this time, they don't have sufficient funds to do it in their budget for the following year. I think they're going to be contacting Ron Dorso to see if we can put some money in his budget to see if the board could fund this. I think they're looking for approximately $5,000. And that's it.
Thank you, Mark.
I have a question.
You have a question, Mark?
Yes. Is the board meetings for community school open?
Yes.
They're open meetings? When's the next one?
I don't have the calendar with me, I really
Do you have
don't know.
another date?
Absolutely.
Mary has some.
The night of the National Honor Society, Cindy, Mike, Elise, and I were at the school board's dinner workshop at Glen Rock High School. And there were 3 different workshops, and we moved from group to group to group, and it was very informative. And yeah, it was a good night. And that was,
It was labor relations, the stigma-free, and legislation, yeah.
Is that what you want to say, or something else?
No, I have something. We had a special education committee meeting last night, and we were presented with the role of the child study team in the district. And speaking for myself, I had no idea what was involved when a child first enters our system as a preschooler. And each level of the child study team, right on through to the high school, we had school psychologists. It was an absolutely wonderful presentation. I would love for the full board to get a presentation. I don't know if that could ever happen, but it was very enlightening, very informative, and I just want to reiterate that I am so impressed with the care that the special education people have for our children. It is truly amazing, and their workload is heavy, but they never put the needs of the child. Paperwork pushes aside, and the child is at the center. And it was very evident last night by the speakers, and I just wanted to say thank you again. And also, I just wanted to give the board, when I was talking in relationship to John, I wanted to inform the board that there is going to be a bookcase coming from Flace in John's memory. And I had talked to Dr. Palestis, and he said the administration is going to look into the logistics of where the bookcase can be placed, because apparently there are some space issues, and if the children are going to have access to the bookcase, then we have to make sure that it's a safe environment for the children to be, in to be at the book. So those logistics will be worked out, but as soon as I have a final resting place of the bookcase, I'll let you know. And we do have another meeting scheduled for April 19th, which is the Special Education Committee meeting. And we also are setting up a closed session workshop
on the 6th of March with just our special ed committee, yes.
Thank you.
That's it, thank you.
Mike?
I want to reiterate what Cindy said about the special ed meeting last night. It was nice to be back on the special ed committee. I was on it, and then I was off it for a couple of years, and now I'm back on it. It is absolutely, I work in education, but to see it on display, everything that the child study team is in charge of and is tasked in doing, it is a monumental task, which the thing that came out was, at any given moment, that monumental task that they have to accomplish gets stopped because the most important piece, the children, are in crisis or there's an issue, and they have to stop everything, their to-do list, and deal with that. And it is a really, it's a really monumental task. And the other thing I wanted to say, because I'm the Bergen County School Board liaison for us, that we do, it's an interesting thing because our district probably has more people attending those meetings than any other district as a whole. At any given night, there's usually like 5 or 6 of our board members present, and we do get a lot of information. One of the informational pieces that came out was, to watch Governor Christie's State of the State address, because he's going to talk about the fair funding formula, and he's trying to work that out. So that'll be interesting to see. The last piece is, Dr. Plessis, thank you very, very much for getting the Hidden in Plain Sight program. It was done in the school district I work in, very highly attended, and very, they really got a lot out of it. So I applaud you and your staff for getting that.
Thank you, but it was really Ron Dorset.
Okay. It came,
Sometimes I just get the ball rolling.
I have to say, it came out of the education meeting last year where we were talking about opiate abuse and other things, so I'm glad to see something good came out of that meeting.
Lisa,
I just wanted to say that this is just an interesting fact that New Jersey is the only state in the union that makes their board members go for any
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of, interesting that somebody at this meeting that we were at mentioned that. But we really.
And the only elected officials.
Right.
Yeah, we're the only elected officials. Yeah. Council, assemblyman, they don't. They already know everything. Any hand up there?
Yes. I'd really like to voice publicly my displeasure with the community news. And the fact that apparently Fairlawn has fallen off the map of New Jersey. We used to have Tracy Petrino, who attended our meetings and reported the many things that are very important to this town that occur here. She was very objective. She gave a very objective accounting, and I think she did a very nice job. When I was at the dedication, the celebration of the presidential Blue Ribbon School, there was a reporter and photographer there from the community news, and I said to him, what's happened here that nobody covers anything in Fairlawn? I mean, it's really like we don't exist. And he said, well, don't ask me, because March 25th, my job ends. I'm being fired too. So I would like to request that we send a formal letter to the editor of the community news and voice our annoyance. We have some very big issues coming along, and there's no coverage of it whatsoever. So, I mean, I'm willing to write something that I submit for approval or whatever. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it,
I'm
Agreed.
getting really annoyed every time I open that paper.
And the record too.
You know what? I'm sorry.
Oh, Jeff was next, and Ron, and then you.
I agree. Unfortunately, it's going to get worse when it comes to it because, from what I understand in my coaching world, all the sports reporters that used to cover high school sports have been fired. I don't know, fired on their jobs have been, or their jobs are gone. So this is really, unfortunately, the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I'm certainly willing to vote on that letter, but you know, it's the USA Today, and.
Janet.
Yeah, Jen. It's just, and it's unfortunately for local coverage and for our athletes that do things special, and you're just not going to hear about it unless it's like Don Bosco or, you know, one of the national news stories. I agree, it's rather unfortunate.
We'll come back to Mary Sue just in a minute, Ron.
Just a point of information, I guess you mentioned it, but all our winter teams had a great year, but our wrestling team had a phenomenal year. And this week's the districts, which we're hosting, but just to let you know, Dylan Sandino, our freshman, 106 is third ranked in the state. And he is undefeated, and right now, probably a lot of people are this job getting all the way to go there. So it's something to be very proud of, because we haven't had something like that.
He's a stud.
Oh, yeah. He's very third in the state.
I wonder if we'll make it in the paper.
Actually, in defense of the record, and I know I heard the same thing Jeff did, they did do a nice story on him a couple weeks ago, when they did something about Fairlawn wrestling, so it coming back up again, so it was very nice.
Mark.
I don't want to discourage you, Mary, but I'm a member of the Knights of Pythias, and we too have put in numerous articles that have not appeared. And one of the liaisons from the Knights went down personally to speak to whomever it was, and he reported last evening that there was nothing to be done. The guy basically said, too bad. You know, we're limited in the amount of space we have, and that's it. So, unfortunately.
I talked to Jimmy Van Krunigen today about something else, and we talked about that, and he called up, and he said, we have no space. He goes, well, you took all the pages away. Of course you have no space.
It's all shop right now.
Yeah.
It's very true.
It's like this thing, it's all advertisements.
We can only just stop buying the record.
Mike.
First of all, I did last month, I canceled my subscription to the record, but, can I suggest that we, I have the lady's name that covers Fairlawn, and I suggest that we reach out to the Daily Voice, which has become the online newspaper, so to speak.
Who's on public relations committee?
So I could get the public relations committee the information for her, and she will. I don't know if she'll send someone here, but she's pretty good at. If you send her something, they publish it. There has been some stuff about the schools in there.
A little bit, yeah.
Which means someone's sending her stuff from the individual schools probably, but definitely I do have the contact.
All right, why don't the public relations committee, community relations committee, at the next meeting discuss it, see about doing a letter, getting the information from Mike, how's that sound? Is that you?
Yes, Liz, Mark, and Joe.
Okay. Anything else, board members? Just want to announce, we're going to do meetings, but February 27th. What time is that meeting, 7:30 or 8 o'clock? Policy meeting?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, February 27th. We're going to be discussing one policy called soft orders. What it has to do with is the crowding conditions at Mills and Bradburn. 8 o'clock. It kind of complicates, so I'm not going to go into it now, but it has to do with where your children will be going to school when you move into certain sections of town. Mill just got its 500 students. Radford has 475. So they're kind of close. So we're going to discuss the whole situation, and how we plan on moving forward with it. But, Michelle, you got the email, right?
Yes.
And you emailed all your people? I want to make sure everybody is aware that we're going to be just having this discussion. And I talked to Ernie, and I think maybe we should do it in a high school cafeteria in case we get a big crowd. Because if we don't get a big crowd,
Just remember, we have other meetings.
I know, well, we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, no, I'm just letting you know.
I don't want to have 70 people in this room. You know,
February 27th, is that going to interfere with the play, the music, high school musical?
No, the only thing going on at the high school
Well, I
that
mean-
night is a PCA meeting, but I'll call Julie Bates and.
I meant the preparation.
well, we're going to be in the auditorium. I mean, we're going to be in
Oh,
the...
in the auditorium, I'm sorry.
I mean, the
Oh, okay.
the
I was thinking of
cafeteria.
the auditorium.
No.
I apologize.
All right, so we're going to have that meeting, 8 o'clock. And then the two committee meetings beforehand, you guys figure it out, but maybe you leave it there. What? That's a lousy place to have a meeting. I know what you're saying, but it's worse than that
In the
cafeteria.
summertime, that's bad, but in
Oh,
the.
yeah.
Middle school.
Is that definite at the high school?
So is the
Yeah.
athletic committee meeting?
Okay, the policy committee meeting is definitely at the high school.
Because then we have to
So the
resend
PTA
it.
presidents, we sent it out the right way then, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the two other meetings are closed, so it doesn't matter. Cafeteria, the cafeteria. We don't have a D gym, do
Will
we?
you send anything out to us, Michelle?
So
We almost had a DJ.
the athletic committee meetings,
The town wouldn't.
Why don't you just do everything at the high
that's
school
what
and,
I'm saying.
That would make sense.
That would make sense.
yeah, do everything at the high school and one of the other rooms.
That's fine.
The,
B 103.
yeah,
Okay. All right, thanks.
all right, I just want to make sure before the crowd
Oh,
left.
and Jim, you could invalidate us?
Absolutely. Yeah, okay. Now, public meeting will be March 16th at 7:30. What else we got going on? Yeah, what's the budget deal?
March 16th, the preliminary budget, and then April 27th is the public hearing. April what? April 27th is the public hearing for the budget.
March 16th is,
March 16th is the preliminary budget and the monthly meeting.
but that's also the public meeting, okay.
Got it.
So,
So once we get it, then we gotta go start.
That's at 7:30.
7:30, okay.
Now, I assume,
Yeah, go ahead.
I assume once we get past March 16th, they'll give us dates of where we're gonna start going to different schools and talking about it.
Okay, any other meetings you have to set up?
You're gonna set work date.
March the 6th.
No, I'd love to. I would love to be on there.
I got February 21st.
Okay.
March 6th, it's a Monday.
All right, any other meetings you have to set up?
Right,
We're gonna have an update on the closed session.
I would love that.
I can have a motion to recess in closed session. All in favor? Aye. Take a 5-minute break. We're gonna discuss personnel. Gibb. I think that's it.